Good morning, beautiful people of the world. Good morning and welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. So it has officially been 2 weeks to the minute. 2 weeks. I was on a timeout for hate speech. So I started a backup channel. You can find it at Starkey Farmstead 2. Now, folks, most of you know I watch everything, and so do you, right? We watch everything together. So why, just riddle me this, why is Donald Trump throwing a UFC Freedom 250 event on June 14th, 2026, which just happens to be Flag Day and Donald Trump's 80th birthday at the White House as part of America's 250th anniversary celebrations? Who is getting the feeling it's a bit like Rome and the gladiators? All right. So, welcome back, friends and family. My name is Samantha Starkey. I'm going to walk you through a few things today. We're going to talk about something called the Collins Elite and an operation hidden from Americans that the CIA did called Operation Often, where they dove into black magic and UFOs, but they did not believe that the UFOs were aliens. They believed they were demons. Now, this actually happened. It is well documented between the 1940s and the 1960s. And I'm going to tie that into what is happening right now with Donald Trump, the king of America and basically the world, if you look at it from his point of view. We're going to talk about why Trump Jr. married a woman whose father was Epstein's personal banker. We're going to talk about why Dana White, the gentleman that owns the UFC and is putting on a $60 million production at his own cost, supposedly, had blue butterfly paintings in his apartment. If you don't know what blue butterfly is, hang around, friend, because I'll tell you. Why does the UFC octagon that is being built on the south lawn of the White House look like a giant stargate or a portal? Why? Why is all of this happening now, right now? Well, I'm going to tell you. So sit down, get comfortable. I missed you guys so much. I cannot tell you how much. I mean, like, I laid in bed for the first day of my timeout and I was like in mourning. Like, my husband's like, this is ridiculous, Samantha. You need to get up and do something. And I'm like, I can't. I can't. They're going to take it away from me. And he was like, no, they're not. If God gave it to you, no man can remove it. I said, thank you, husband. So I got up and I started a backup channel, right? But please do not forget to get your book, Growing Under a Poison Sky, folks. It all goes together. You can't look at the the data centers, the fusion centers, the divine mathematics, the witchcraft, Trump, basically the 10 kings and the little horn, all that. You can't look at any of that without understanding that it all goes together. But what they're doing in the sky and how it's affecting the food, your water, and your body is a huge part of it. So please do not forget to get this book. You can Google it, type it into your browser, Growing Under a Poisoned Sky. It'll pop up. It's online literally everywhere. You can get it anywhere you want, but you are still going to have to get it online. We've not sold enough yet to be on the shelves inside of bookstores, but we will. So please make sure you are still subscribed. Hit the like button. Let's do this. You, me, let's get to business. We got a lot to cover. Now, I started a couple of really cool deep dives into the demons that are controlling America right now. And you can find that on my new channel. But I want to show you these pictures after this board disappears behind Dana White. Now, this is Dana White. You see that picture back here? And you see the one over there, right? Well, that's all I can show you, or YouTube will knock it off and say that it's sexual. That blue butterfly, that is horrific, you guys. That is a Epstein survivor blue butterfly. They actually put it on the women that were being trafficked. Now, why would the man that is putting on Donald Trump's 80th birthday at his own cost of $60 million have blue butterflies in his apartment?
And now we're on the south lawn of the White House, and with 4,000 people, mostly military, and then across the street at the Ellipse there'll be 85,000 people. Over 300,000 people have applied for tickets.
You're setting up a kind of outdoor arena there at the White House, is
right?
That right?
It's which there's two things I hate. I hate stadiums, and I hate even worse than a stadium is fighting outside. There's just so many different variables you have to deal with. The weather and the worst obviously being rain and lightning.
Yeah.
And then bugs and, temperatures and
Could
lots of
be
different
anything.
things that I don't like.
How involved has the president been in the details?
Not very. Not very. And now we're on the
I
south
don't
lawn of the
believe
White
that.
House. And
I don't believe that. I kind of feel like this is a desecration. So Trump is turning the White House lawn into a trailer park with a bribery toll booth for UFC Freedom 250. Welcome to Idiocracy, the pay-per-view. Idiocracy opened with a montage explaining how a nation of geniuses bred itself into a nation of morons in 500 years. Mike Judge gave humanity 5 centuries to get this stupid. America did it in 18 months. On January 14th, 2026, which will be Flag Day, the 250th birthday of the United States, and by total coincidence, Donald Trump's 80th birthday. The South Lawn of the White House will host a UFC cage fight, not a metaphorical one, an actual octagon, bolted together on the grass where Eisenhower putted and where every president since has stood to greet foreign heads of state, ringed in wire mesh so 2 men can punch each other in the face for the entertainment of a king on his birthday. And this is what it looks like right now. So the trailer park on Pennsylvania Avenue. If you've driven past this place lately or seen the photos, you already know it looks like a foreclosed county fairground. The East Wing is a pile of rubble because Trump bulldozed the entire East Wing, which was over here, to build a $300 million in climbing ballroom that was supposed to be funded by Patriot donors nobody will name. Now we know, since the third fake attempted assassination and the second and the first fake, that they're pushing and pushing, right? They're ramping it up. But I mean, let me ask you guys something. If his life is so in danger that he needs $1 billion blank check to build hospitals and scientist labs and bunkers and surveillance and all that underneath the East Wing ballroom, why is he having a UFC fight outside on the lawn of the White House? I'm sorry. I mean, I'm just asking people to ask questions. This is the people's house. It currently has the curb appeal of a repo lot. The 1.5 million ticket that's technically free. So here's what people do not understand about the UFC fight upcoming with Trump. The tickets are free. The UFC says so. Dana White, you just heard him. He says so. The tickets are free. Officially, not $1 is going to change hands for a seat at the president's birthday brawl, except sponsorship packages. The ones that come with ringside seats are reportedly going for $1.5 million a pop. A Republican lobbyist told NBC News that Trump's own fundraising team is raising the money, and that the event has quietly been added to the list of approved entities that corporate donors can funnel undisclosed cash into to get credit with Trump. Same back scratching machine as MAGA Inc., the ballroom, the Kennedy Center. Pay the king, you get a seat. Where does the money go? Nobody will say. The White House points to the UFC. The UFC points it back to the White House. The UFC says it's selling tickets and won't comment on where the sponsorship cash lands. TKO, the UFC's parent company, says it expects to lose 30 million on the whole thing, yet it calls it an investment for the long term. Guys, think about that. You have an event that's going to cost $60 million. You're going to sell tickets between 1 million and 1.5 million. But there's only a limited amount of ringside tickets. So they are expecting to lose $30 million on Trump's 80th birthday, yet it's an investment for the long term. Come on, man. We're not flipping stupid. This is not a fundraiser. This is a toll booth on the front lawn of the White House. The crowd and the Mad King picked himself. Okay, so there's roughly 4,300 people that get to come onto the White House South Lawn to watch this in person. There is no general admission, it's free. However, it is invite only, and the man doing the inviting is the birthday boy. Trump is personally handpicking most of the crowd. He told NBC, and I quote, the spirit of it, he's going to make a lot of enemies because it's impossible to get everyone a ticket. White House comms director Stephen Chung says Trump is splitting his share among administration staffers, military service members, and VIPs. Dana White has 200 tickets to hand out, and Trump has 1,000. TKO's Ari Emanuel gets 200. The rest, allegedly, go to the United States military. So I want you to picture this. The president of the United States is going to decide which billionaires, lobbyists, and VIPs get to stand on the South Lawn and watch men bleed for his 80th birthday, while the donors who paid 7 figures get the good seats, a monarch distributing favor from a balcony. We fought a war 250 years ago specifically so we would never have to watch this, friends and family. Now, this is the funny part. If you're not rich enough or connected enough, if you're not in the in crowd, you don't get to go to the South Lawn. But don't worry, Trump's got a backup plan for you peasants. There's a spot for you. It's called the Ellipse. It is a park south of the White House, and it's where the public will go. Now, please do not forget, every federal building, every federal land belongs to you, the public. You own it. It is yours. It's not Trump's. It's not the Trump administration. It's not belonging to the federal government. Friends, you are the federal government. And, in case no one's ever told you that. And so the UFC is giving away 85,000 free tickets to stand in President's Park South and watch fights on big screens. Of course, there'll be stages. Of course, there'll be music. Of course, there will be activations and corporate speak, which is for branded tents where you can hold a product while a man in a polo shirt takes your picture. Bands will play. You'll be able to see the White House. You will not be able to see the fight except on a jumbotron, which you could do from your couch for free without being patted down by a guy watching for snipers on the White House roof. This is a 2-tier republic in one image. The donors get the cage. The peasants get the screen and the porta potty. Same event, same birthday, and a road in between them that may as well be a moat filled with alligators and on fire. So here are your UFC freedom fighters. For the record, because somebody should treat this part seriously, since the fighters are the only people in this story who actually have skill, here's the card dubbed Freedom 250. You got Tupurio versus, I don't know how to say that, Gathy. That's your lightweight. You have Alex against Cyril. That's your interim heavyweight. Sean O'Malley against Amon Zabia, that's your bantamweight. Get Rufy against Chandler, lightweight. Nickel against Dukas, middleweight. And Lupe against Garcia, featherweight. 2 title fights. Fans only. Fans online have already panned it as thin for an event being sold as the biggest in the sport's history. Here's a detail that tells you everything about the venue. Because the White House sits on federal land, no state athletic commission will have jurisdiction. There's no regulator. The UFC literally had to invite the Association of Boxing Commissions to advise on the fight so it could be sanctioned. So the president built a cage in a regulatory dead zone and he called it a birthday party. So the East Wing is in rubble. The South Lawn is a construction site, and the president is selling $1 million sponsorships to his own birthday party through his own fundraising team, and nobody will say where the money's going. Trump is personally choosing which VIPs get to stand on the lawn. 85,000 regular Americans get herded into a park to watch it on TV. And the centerpiece of the 250th anniversary of American independence is a cage fight scheduled for the King's 80th birthday in a spot where no law of any state can reach. Idiocracy. The grim joke is that none of this is hidden. There's no leak, no whistleblower, no hacked server. It's on camera. It's in the AP photos of the cage going up. It's in the NBC reporting on the $1 million seat. It's coming on Flag Day on television with bands and fireworks and a man turning 80 in the middle of an octagon he built on the people's lawn. We were warned the future would be stupid. Nobody warned us that they'd make us buy a ticket to watch it, or in your case, stand in the park and watch it on the screen. Hang in there, folks. We still have 2.5 years to go. All right. So the UFC $6 million White House stun fans as costs emerge, right? Why isn't this moving? Hold on, guys. All right. Now, this is what I need people to understand, that security cost alone is where you and I are going to get caught into this. You're going to have federal agencies involved, restricted airspace, infrastructure adjustments requiring to transform the White House lawn into a world-class fight venue. Beyond that, broadcast setup, seating arrangements, lighting rigs, and fighter accommodations would all require unprecedented planning. Many big names, including Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler, are already set to fight at the event. UFC CEO Dana White has long expressed interest in delivering groundbreaking events that push the boundaries of traditional MMA staging. From Fight Island and Abu Dhabi during the pandemic to the Sphere takeover in 2024, the promotion has consistently prioritized spectacle. Unsurprisingly, social media erupted after the news of the reported budget surfaced. Many fans questioned whether spending $60 million on a single event makes financial sense, particularly when compared to previous blockbuster cards. One fan wrote, "Funded by taxpayers." Another fan wrote, "Spend $60 million to make $120 million. If you think Dana would ever take a loss in this business, you must not be paying attention." So I just wanted to point that out. People are calling it out, man. Like, they already know, right? And before I keep going on this Trump thing, right, I want to show you guys somebody that lives in the Dominican Republic, reached out to me and said, "Samantha, they've rolled out digital ID." Now, I know what you're going to say. Sam, people have talked about this till they've walked it into the ground. No, baby, this is the real one. All right. It says to modernize government services, combat fraud, improve transparency, and ensure all citizens have equal access to their identity and rights. This decree mandates the creation of a united national digital ID system. Now, this is immediate, right? Now, look at this, right? Article 1, creation of the Republic ID digital identity system. A new national digital ID branded Republica ID will be issued to all Dominican citizens and legal residents. This is what is going to be on it. Your government issued national ID, your driver's license, your vehicle insurance verification, your voter ID, your social and healthcare integration, and your taxpayer registration. All these people running around encouraging others not to pay their taxes in America. Well, this is coming here next. See, they do it in these third world countries where they don't have a 2A and they can't fight back, and they normalize it. And they, see how people fight back, and then they fix it and they change it. By the time it gets to us, it'll be ironclad. Article 2, validity and expiration. Republica ID will carry a 10-year expiration period for citizens 18 to 64. And if you're a senior, 65 and plus, yours is lifetime. No expiration, no renewal fee. All renewals can be completed online, in person, or at a mobile ID unit around the province. Biometric and digital security features. So it will include facial recognition and fingerprint data, digital QR codes for quick verification, 2FA authentication for government services, an NFC chip for future digital wallet and contactless, we don't have to see each other or even speak, features. Lost or stolen IDs will be deactivated and replaced securely 24/7 through a national portal. So accessibility and inclusion. Replica Republica ID will be free for its first-time applicants. You can get it in multiple languages. It's accessible at all municipal offices, embassies, and consulates abroad, which means here in America, if you're a Dominican sovereign citizen, you can go to the embassy or the consulate here in the U.S. and get yours. A mobile replica ID app will allow citizens to access documents, track voting status, update personal details securely, and prove identity for digital services. Article 5, it is mandatory for government services. Beginning January 1st, 2028, it will be required for you to vote, to access your government benefits, your Social Security, your food stamps, your Medicaid. If you're going to file taxes, you're going to have this. If you're going to drive or own a registered vehicle, you're going to have this. If you have healthcare registration or subsidies for healthcare, you're going to have this. All agencies must integrate it into their systems by December 31st, 2027. We're almost in June of 2026. That's 18 months from now. Anti-fraud enforcement. Any attempt to forge, duplicate, or falsify will be prosecuted as a national identity fraud and imprisonment to 10 years. Everything will be seized, all your assets, and a lifetime disqualification from public programs. So not only will they imprison you, take all your crap, you can never get any kind of help from the government at all. One citizen, one identity, one future. The days of paper, confusion, and loopholes are over. With Republica ID, we bring every Dominican into the future safely, equally, and powerfully. You can bet Palantir, OpenAI, and Trump had their hand in that. Let's keep going. All right, let's do it. It's time to do it. It's time to pull the thing off everybody. So for the past 2 weeks, America has felt less like a republic and more like a giant reality show, haven't we? It's been one thing after another, dude. For real. It really has. Okay, there's Dana talking about his picture. There's the butterfly picture. So here you go. What are the chances that Virginia Guffrey had a blue butterfly tattoo as well? I believe this is all about cloning. She even mentions Epstein seeding the human race by turning his Zorro Ranch into a baby form.
This happened on the Blue Origin Shepherd shuttle, and Katy Perry holds up the blue butterfly there. So this is quite blatant. So let's connect this back in to Epstein. The blue butterfly of Lilith. Now, Lilith is a variant of the name Elizabeth, or Lilibet, which we know the royals have used in their names for their children. This connects to Lilith and Elizabeth. Catherine Elizabeth Hudson. That's her middle name, Elizabeth. There's a connection here. I believe it's epigenetics. These children are born into this. She was born into a heavily Christian family. Clearly now, she's flashing symbology of the Kabbalistic kind all over the place. On the right here, you have images of how these this blue butterfly of Lilith has been used by the Epstein survivors. Virginia Guthrie has it in her logo. Sarah has a tattoo of it. Juliet Bryant, she had it on her diary, and that was created before she met Epstein. That's what she says. So if that is true, that would imply that that is epigenetic and it's coming through before these children and these young girls are brought up to do this.
And I do believe that. And I want to show you something. Look at that. Look at the UFC. It looks just like a huge Stargate portal. How many of you watched Stargate as a child? That is what that is. You guys, they're going to be opening a flipping portal. I'm going to show you something. Listen.
Project Stargate. How could you miss how we've been talking about the Stargate for so long now, right? There's Katy Perry Stargate from her performance on 9/11 at the VMAs, where she enters into, through the Stargate, and then it gets all spooky and weird. The Real Kim Shady on X, who is a great channel, you should follow her out. She actually posted this picture that was taken at the inaugural ball of Donald Trump and his wife Melania, and it looks very much like they're in front of a portal. A Stargate, a bottomless pit. And there's Stargate SG-1. You remember that? And who were the gods? The gods? Look at them. Look at the picture. You got aliens that look like our typical aliens, and you got all the Egyptian gods.
Sun god of worship.
I don't even want to get into the egg. The egg that they just discovered. Supposedly it's a whistleblower. Dropped the egg. It has all the Egyptian hieroglyphs. I've been talking about the eggs too. It's like, at some point, people are going to catch on. That's why I get excited. But this is a thing. I know that it's all about AI and everything else, but what do you think a Stargate is? It's advanced technology. Advanced technology. But do you know that Stargate was like a program that was back in the 70s? And this is where it gets weird, because this is all connected to like CERN. This is connected to like psychics and mediums and, all the stuff that's just all woo-woo and spooky. Very strange. But what's stranger is 2 months, 2 days ago. Take a look at that Stargate with the words run. Because it was Dark Matter Day at CERN. Dark matter sounds a lot like dark.
Yep, that's what Grok says it'll be. Okay, so let me show you this. This is the
Think
college.
about 72 CIA officials and U.S. military intelligence. They sit in a candlelit room across from Sybil Leek. Now, she's Britain's most famous witch at the time. Government officials watch her perform a black magic ritual. The government, men trained in espionage and warfare, sit silently and take notes as she channels something from beyond. Then comes a strange voice. It calls itself Kazulikem, and it has an important message. Earth is a farm. You are the cattle, and your souls are our harvest. The room goes cold. The nation's most powerful defense agencies, those sworn to protect America from foreign enemies, are now face to face with what they believe to be demonic forces masquerading as extraterrestrial entities. It sounds wild. Conspiracy theory on steroids. But what if it's not science fiction? What if it's real life? I'm John Genoa. You're watching America's Strangest History. Let's talk about how the US government dabbled in sorcery and the occult. The most alarming part of this is that the government officials may actually have encountered something far darker than they ever could have imagined. They played with fire and they were about to get burned. Before we dive into that 1972 seance, we need to understand how we even got there. Why were US intelligence officials, people trained to fight communism and launch covert operations, why were they sitting in a room with a witch in the first place? To answer that, we have to go back half a century to a rocket scientist who merged rockets with ritual magic. Jack Parsons. Parsons wasn't your average rocket scientist that even exists. He was co-founder of what would become NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab. He's been called the father of modern rocketry in America. By night, Parsons indulged his rather unorthodox interests. He was the head of the lodge of Aleister Crowley's occult order in Pasadena, California. The order.
But here's what I need all of you guys to remember: the missing scientist leading up to this and how Trump brushed it off. Oh, we're going to look into it. Oh, it was just a coincidence. Was it? Because all of them were working on what I would think, if you put all of the missing or dead scientists in one room, you would be able to create a Stargate. So who were the Collins elite? This is when the U.S. government met the devil. All right. Think about this. 1972, the CIA officials and U.S. military intelligence, they sit in a candlelit room across from Sybil Leek, Britain's most famous witch. Government officials watch her perform a black magic ritual. You just heard about that, right? Earth is a farm. You are the cattle. You are the goy. You are the goy. Now, this is where the synagogue of Satan would come in. This is why you were starting to see things like Kabbalah. You're hearing things about the Sephiroth tree. People are talking about star seeds and all of that, right? It's starting to make a little more sense, isn't it? Before we dive into the 1972 seance, we need to understand how we got there, right? And that is Jack Parsons, who wasn't your average rocket scientist. He was the co-founder of NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab. He was the head of the lodge of Aleister Crowley's occult order in Pasadena, California, the Ordo Temple Orientis, OTO for short. Crowley was a big deal. He was called the wickedest man in the world by the British press. He practiced ceremonial magic in 1918. He performed something called the Amaranthra working. It's a ritual he believes could open a door to another realm. From that ritual, he sketched a being named Lamb. It is a bulbous-headed, dark-eyed figure that looks eerily close to the modern conception of a gray alien. So then this is where Ron Hubbard comes in, the founder of Scientology. He was also a science fiction writer, and he carried out the Babylon working. It was a series of sex magical rituals that were meant to manifest an elemental spirit or moon child. They were attempting to summon an otherworldly force into this world. Now, I know this sounds nuts, but the timing is uncanny. Just months later, the modern UFO era explodes. It starts with Kenneth Arnold's flying saucers in 1947, followed by the Roswell crash. The Collins elite was an ultra secret working group that we're about to discuss. They would later see this not as coincidence, but as cause and effect. Meanwhile, Parsons' double life started to catch up to him. He lost his security clearance after the FBI and the Air Force flagged him for leaking Hughes aircraft documents. They also took issue with his occult affiliations. They said it was bad optics. So, UF sightings across the world exploded at the same time as all of this black magic was happening. All right. So, a handful of officials began to wonder if they had opened a door that now couldn't be closed. The government didn't just wonder about it, they formed what became known as the Collins Elite. It was in a secret think tank group that was deep within the US government. They did not believe that UFOs were extraterrestrials. They believed they were demonic intelligence masquerading as aliens. Do you get that? In 1972, their concerns took them straight to symbolic, Britain's most famous witch, and to an entity calling itself Kaza Ulkum. So it goes on. I'll link all of this. You can look at it yourself. But understand this, the Collins elite reached a radical conclusion that the UFOs were spaceships from Zeta, a binary star system located. They didn't think the UFOs, okay, sorry guys, they didn't think the UFOs were spaceships from Zeta, a binary star system 39 light years from Earth. They believed that they were manifestations of demonic intelligence, specifically fallen angels, disguising themselves as ETs. To the Collins elite, alien abductions weren't medical experiments with the standard anal probes, they were ritual initiations in disguise. Contactee messages about peace and cosmic brotherhood weren't alien wisdom. They were false gospel intentionally seeded by deceptive spirits. The Collins elite saw themselves as America's hidden guardians against spiritual invasion. Kind of reminds me of the superhero Doctor Strange. All right. So it goes on and it tells you a little bit about how in the 1950s, the US government wasn't just watching rockets on or radar blips, they were quietly dipping their own hands into the world of the occult. Take the case of Frances Swan, a Maine housewife in 1954. She was receiving messages from a being named Affy through automatic writing. Her neighbors thought she was crazy, but the U.S. Navy did not, and they showed up and took notes. Then there was Ruth Montgomery, a respected Washington journalist who transitioned into one of the nation's most famous psychics. She wrote articles claiming that the U.S. Army was experimenting with mind reading and ESP as an espionage tool. Now, in the 1960s, everything went a little darker. The CIA launched a program, and they called it Operation Often. Not unlike MK Ultra, which focused on drugs and mind control, Operation Often explored something else: demonology, witchcraft, psychic mediums. The agency hired astrologers, psychics, practicing witches, anything you could think of. They wanted to know if supernatural forces could be harnessed for intelligence work. This is where the Collins elite's worst fears came true. What had started as Crowley and Parsons rituals to open doors was now formally being carried out by the U.S. government itself. Federal agents weren't just studying UFOs, they were attending seances. They were sitting across from witches. They were, from the Collins elite's perspective, inviting demonic forces into the heart of national security. Now, friends and family, You guys remember me covering all of this before, how NASA brought in the Zohar and Kabbalah and began to teach scientists and NASA, you know, astronauts about Kabbalah. Kabbalah is witchcraft. I told you guys then. They never made that up. All right. And this is all very interesting. The Collins elite did not fear aliens. They feared what these aliens claimed to offer, and they believed those claims were lies. Their core conviction, the greatest danger wasn't physical invasion, it was spiritual deception. Here's what they feared and how they planned to fight back. They feared a false messiah, a cosmic savior deception. The aliens would present themselves as benevolent saviors. They'd offer cures and cosmic spirituality. Now, that promise would lure humanity away from Christian doctrine towards a new religion of the stars. So think Saturn worship, think black cube messiah. Is it all starting to make sense? This new religion, in effect, a new age version of Christ, an alien, a Yeshua. They also feared mass miracles and holographic prophecies. The government or occult proxies would stage spectacular appearances like Jesus in the sky, right? Alien councils, oracles lighting up major cities, all via hologram satellites, psychotronic projection, and maybe a combination of all three. These miracles would validate the deception. It would lower your defenses and draw people in mass. They were afraid of the power of mind control over spiritual belief. They feared the idea of soft disclosure used as a Trojan horse instead of a dramatic landing. The aliens would be introduced gradually, first to be anomalies like we see on TV, then public acknowledgement, then religious assimilation. Do you remember all of those fake MAGA pastors and the fake MAGA prophets for hire, all talking about the alien disclosure, how Trump was bringing that forward? Is it beginning to make sense to you why some of us have been ringing this bell, friends and family? Now, some Collins elite members believed in fighting fire with fire, the use of counter ritual, prayer, exorcism, protective sigils. The only thing I need is Jesus's blood. Come on, Jesus. Even spiritual wards used to guard against negative injuries, entities, or ill will. They tried to recruit Christian ministers with occult experience to partner with military intelligence to nullify these spiritual incursions. The Collins elite monitored contactees and spiritual movements to identify doctrine that might hide demonic influence. Think Hebrew roots movement and sacred name movement. They infiltrated New Age groups and flagged narratives that promoted alien theology. Think Mormons. When rumors of false miracles circulated, the Collins elite considered developing countermeasures to protect perception, like electromagnetic suppression and psychic shielding through fields and prayer protocols, just to name a couple. The Collins elite believed that they should control when and how disclosure of UFOs took place. They feared surprise disclosure would shock masses into submission. The greatest irony here is that in trying to protect America from deception, the Collins elite risked becoming deceivers themselves. They pushed for indoctrination. They dreamed of turning the United States into a fortress of theology. In their eyes, salvation required control. That's where the danger lies. Because whether you believe the story or not, the fact remains that the U.S. government did dabble in sorcery. They tested psychic mediums, hired astrologers, and sat across from witches. They opened doors that might never be shut. The Collins elite saw demons wearing alien masks. Others saw paranoid men chasing shadows. Either way, the question remains. When governments begin playing with the occult in the name of national security, who's in control? The answer may be darker than you think. And this is where you're getting this Seven Mountain Mandate, this NAR, this movement, this Christian nationalism to take territory and force us. My God is a God of free will. Jesus allows you the choice up until the day that you die. Will you accept him? Will you kneel down? Will you ask forgiveness? Will you circumcise your heart? The choice has always been ours.
Door they couldn't close. They summoned an entity calling itself Kazulika. By September 1972, the Collins elite and the CIA's Operation Often were desperate for answers. They'd been studying UFOs and weird cases of contact and abduction for years, but they lacked confirmation. They wanted a direct, undeniable voice from the other side to manifest, so they went to Sybil Leek. That night, Leek entered a trance surrounded by a mix of intelligence officers, occult operatives, and members of the Collins elite. It was a scene straight out of a horror movie. The candles flickered, the air was thick. They were about to force open a door that should never have been opened. A voice calling itself Kazulikem manifested in the room. Here's just a snippet of what it said. You think you confront extraterrestrials? Ridiculous. The lie is old, the mask is worn. Earth is not your world, it is our pit. Your souls are harvested as fuel. Every living creature, every spark of light in your blood, we feed on it. Contactees praise us. Abductees beg for mercy. They don't know that they worship their jailers. When your scientists gaze up and imagine benevolence, they are blind to the circling vultures who harvest your fear. Chilling words. At one point, Leek, still in a trance, reportedly laughed at the officials' faces. She spat, mocked their faith, and threatened them. You cannot fight us with your bombs or logic. You eat wind and ashes. We own the space your eyes cannot see. The entity claimed its roots extended back to ancient Babylon. It said it watched humanity grow from beyond the mask of gods and angels. It said every false religion was an experiment. So, according to Kazulikem, the extraterrestrial narrative was just the current disguise. Witnesses described the voice as venomous, spiteful, hysterical, mocking. It fed off their fear. According to later accounts, the Collins elite members admitted that they were shaken. Some considered that Leek may simply be giving them what they wanted. This was...
I don't think so. We already know. God's already told us what's out there. And this is what the White House is putting up for people to watch. And now there is, law enforcement forms of anti-tech extremism as hatred groups.
Talking about the fact that Donald John Trump, otherwise known as the Prince of Peace, according to the Israel Heritage Foundation,
that is
also
true.
known as Cyrus the Great, who went by the name King of Babylon the Great, Prince of Persia, maybe
that
the Persian
true.
king, who was also told by Jesus to start the War of Armageddon, who was also called the Savior of Israel, and also called the King Messiah in the Jerusalem Post, and handed the Prince of Peace of Ward, as I said before, and also carries the same gematria as King Nebuchadnezzar. You got it, Trump. Well, he is forcing a certain amount of nations total to be in this agreement. The same one that made another agreement only a couple of months ago to start the Board of Peace. I want to remind you, the short horn of the short season also boasts great things, talks of peace, talks of flatteries, destroys many by peace, and also there's this. Read this with me. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, being the short horn is handed power with the 10 kings for only an hour. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and he shall prosper in practice, and shall destroy the mighty and holy people. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, the golden age. And he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. And he shall also stand against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand.
Now, I want to make this very clear to you guys. Everything this man just said about the awards and stuff that Trump has gotten is true.
Said earlier in this speech that the farmers need to give up their farms before 2030, specifically that year. Yeah, so that's not a coincidence. That year doesn't come out of nowhere. So that year is basically the deadline that our global elites have given our country and will probably give you to abide by these new regulations. And that agenda is called the 2030 Agenda. And now I have a slide showing you what that entails. So the 2030 Agenda is a United Nations agenda. So there we go. Everybody is part of the United Nations, right? The entire world. And this agenda consists of 17 what they call sustainable development goals. And when you take a look at them right there, you're like, well, what's wrong with that? You know, they all seem very noble. No poverty, no hunger. Who could be against that? However, if we take a closer look at how they actually want to accomplish all of this, anybody with 2 functioning brain cells realizes that this cannot happen unless there is an active and maybe even forceful redistribution of goods, foods, property, and our rights, which basically...
Yeah, she's not lying about that either. Now listen to this. White House posted this sound. All right, that's what the White House posted. This is what it sounds like backwards. Sounds like witchcraft to me. So MK often exposed CIA's occult drug experiments unmasked. This was a covert U.S. Department of Defense program run with the CIA beginning in 1966. And what did they do? They did it in Edgewood Arsenal and Holmesburg Prison, military volunteers at Edgewood Arsenal. The Army Public Health Service was involved. It was part of the MK Ultra program, but that was the dark magic I was just explaining to you guys. So at the same time that the UFC spectacle dominates headlines, this administration has quietly been expanding executive power through aggressive executive orders. One major focus would be the artificial intelligence infrastructure and data centers. Trump signed orders designed to fast track massive data AI centers and development projects by reducing permitting barriers and accelerating federal approval. Now, the reason is he's saying that America must compete and beat China, that AI is the future, and slowing development could weaken national security. But we need to remember that corporations gain enormous federal backing, local communities lose influence, and environmental concerns get bypassed when we do this. The Abraham Accords are being expanded. Trump is also attempting to add multiple countries to the Abraham Accords. The original Abraham Accords normalized relationships between Israel and several Arab nations. Now, news is reporting this administration is pursuing additional agreements involving countries like Saudi Arabia and others in that region. Critics are arguing this will further centralize U.S. influence in the Middle East while tying America deeper into regional conflicts. Now, whether people love Trump or they hate him, American politics have begun to fundamentally change because of him. The presidency used to revolve around institutions. Now it revolves around personalities. And critics warn that that's how democracies slowly begin sliding toward authoritarian culture. So the decision is yours. How much more are we going to tolerate of this? America was never a Christian country. It was always pagan. We had the Federalist Papers before we had a United States of America. We had presidents before George Washington and the Freemasons. This is our 250th year. They are opening the portal to bring Apollo back. I don't care if anyone believes me. I've done the research. I've put the time into the videos. And if you've watched my videos start to finish, you know I'm telling the truth. If you'd like to row in the boat and support our channel since we lost income for 2 months, look at the top of comments. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys being back here with me. I love all of you so, so very much. Thank you for your time.